and it doesn't make sense. It's not even that necessary. All right, what's going on? Great afternoon, great afternoon. It's your girl, Coach T, Taryn, like Karen, but with a T, spelled just a little differently for those of you who don't know me. Hope your day's going great. So in today's video, if you can hear.
Hear what?
You hear?
Hear? Are you talking about me?
You hear? See, we tussle a little bit.
Are you gonna do this?
I'm trying.
You feel real rude, Taryn Murphy. Coach T.
See, we get to arguing every now and then. And I get people that ask me, like, Taryn, how in the world do you and Raven, how do y'all work out so well when it comes to entrepreneurship and your marriage? Because there's a lot of people out there, a lot of couples out there, and I get it all the time, who can't seem to get their spouse on the same page as what is the terminology or the language, the language they use. And so I wanted to talk to you today to give you some practical advice on how that actually works, because Raven and I were not always on the same page. There were many times where through this journey, because we met each other, Raven was 18, I was 19 when we got together. So we were the same kind of people and we vibed really, really well. Well, as we got older, in your early 20s, you're going to have some sort of change. And that's when me personally, I really latched on to business, entrepreneurship, and about maybe two and a half years ago, I got into business and entrepreneurship, and a lot of things changed. And so how do you work with your spouse when you have two different thoughts, or you have two different processes or journeys that you would like to go through? So I really want to talk to you guys about that. So sit back. We're going to have a conversation, and I have a special guest that I'm going to go ahead and invite on this live because I really think that it'll help. Add her. Add this person. Adding. One sec. So how are you all's day going? If you're just joining in, share this out for somebody. There are a lot of couples out here who struggle with this. Compromise. Lisa says compromise is something that you have to do. I totally agree. Can y'all hear her? I can't hear you through here. You hear you? No. Type in the number 1 if you can hear Raven. Type in the number 1. There we go. Okay. Something happened. Hello? Yeah, I got you. Yep.
Wait, am I here now?
Hey, cutie. Yes.
Can you hear me now? Okay. Hi, girl. What you doing?
All right, babe. So we're going to talk to him today. So if you saw, we had a little scuffle. We were doing a little arguing in the beginning because I was ready to go live. And do you know what she asked me? You're going to wear your scarf? Yes. While she's in there, she's in the bathroom trying to comb her hair. And I'm like, come on, let's go. See, this is something that we do frequently.
We're going to do this here? We're going to do this here?
I'm always in a rush, and my lady takes her time. So, baby, how you doing today?
Well,
I said, how are you today?
Oh,
Okay.
I'm good. Getting tired of you. Why do you think you can just talk about me this way? You rush all over the place. Sorry that I take my time. You don't want your Facebook friends thinking I'm ugly, huh? I was just brushing my hair.
Babe. Okay, so what topic we talking about today for the people? Hey, Becky.
We're talking about, is it Becky? Hi, Becky. She's so cute. We are talking about how we work well together.
Yeah, but it wasn't always like
and
that.
And how we had to learn. No. Hard no. No, we definitely had problems at the beginning of her entrepreneurial journey. It's just tough when you're not aware of stuff, or when you don't know as much about a person or about their journey. You sometimes have struggles that way. Like, you just sometimes don't understand how to help. And I think that's where we were.
And it was where, I'll take my scarf off so you don't talk about me. So in the beginning here, So how did this even really start? I got on this entrepreneurship journey. You helped me. I was working at Blue Cross Blue Shield Anthem as a health plan advisor, and I was taking calls, and I was making $20 an hour. I had never made $20 an hour. I thought I was hot stuff, right? Well, it turned out that I really hated the job. I did not like it, and I wanted something more. I really started craving more for myself and for my life. Now, ever since I was a kid, I always had the thought process, I want more out of life. Never knew how to get there. You know, it was the things that I learned. I never knew that there was actually a way to be successful. And so during the time how old was I? 22 at the time, I think. 22 at the time. I'll be 26 next month. Next month. And I said, I kept going home miserable, upset. And I'm like, Ray, I want more for my life. And so everything happens for a reason. And while I was working this job, we had downtime where we could surf the internet. And I began surfing different things within the insurance industry using Google. I was searching these different things. And I don't know how it came across, but this article came to me about this girl who did a 52-week book challenge. And hey, Lorena. And so I had been saying for a long time, remember back, I kept saying, I want to read more because I feel like my brain is just dirty and I need to read more. I hadn't read anything other than what they were giving me in school. And so I kept telling Ray, like, I got to read more. I got to read more. And my wife loves to read. She reads a lot of romance novels. Those weren't my kind of books, but seeing her read and the feeling that she would get after she read it, I'm like, I want to start reading. But, I came across this article of this girl who read a 52-week book challenge. And immediately I said, oh, I'm going on a book challenge. And so I told my wife about this challenge. And this was the first book that got it all started. Now, we had no idea what was going to happen with this journey, right? This was the book my wife got me. And it was Zig Ziglar, Seekers of Clothing to Sell. And in that book, it was the first sales book that I read, as well as the first book that had personal development in there. And after that, I took off. I was wanting more. And I started to develop the mindset. So I got on this journey. My wife was working. I was not. I was in the middle. I had quit Blue Cross Blue Anthem, and I was on a job. Like, it was back and forth. It was a mess, wasn't it, babe? It was a mess. And my wife was working at a bank. And so what would happen was, I don't know if you've ever done this, but sometimes when you have a goal, you start to change your mind. You don't want to tell people what's been happening. And I would go to the library. We had no internet in our home, and I would go to the library every single day while my wife was at work, studying people. And another person I ran across was Grant Cardone. And I would be like, this man is crazy. Like, how in the world? And something he always talked about was his spouse, Elena. How his spouse, Elena, has his back. In the 13 years they've been married, she never told him no. She never said, you can't do this or you're working too much. And so I would go pick up my wife, and my wife would be like, what'd you do today? Now, I had consumed amounts of information. I was going through something crazy. And I would be like, I just went to the library. I was so scared to admit that I was going through a mind change. And it had to be, my wife had called off work one day. And so she stayed at home with me. And she said, I didn't know. This had to be a month and a half after I had been lying or not being completely honest about what was going on. And so I got up one time. It was kind of the first time, and I started walking. I do this frequently now, where I pace, where something comes to my brain, and I'm like, oh, that's it. And I get up immediately, and I start walking back and forth. And so she's watching me, and she's like, what the hell what's up? And I'm like, oh, it's okay. I'm embarrassed. And she's like, I had no idea that this is really what you do. And I was like, yeah, I guess I'm not that honest about it. And so there had been a disconnect where I was omitting the truth. I was hiding myself from my wife, okay? She did not understand what was going on. And so then it really changed. I kept growing. I kept learning all this information. And in the midst of that, and I want to say this because I know that you do this too. I know as an entrepreneur, you may do this too. You want to change your spouse. You want your spouse to get on this journey with you. You want to shove a book in their face. I did. I would tell Raven, here, read this book. Here, study this. Read this article. You got to do this. Come on, come drill with me. Let me call off these rebuttals. Let's do it. and she would be so resistant to it. And it caused a lot of problems. And what I had to really understand, and I didn't get it fully, maybe about a year ago, I finally grasped, I can't change my wife. She doesn't have to want to do sales. She doesn't want to have to be an entrepreneur. She wasn't that when I met her. So how dare I try to put that on her? And knowing my wife, and you have to be careful. You know your spouse. I know my spouse will do anything in her power to please me. That's just the type of person that she is. And so it's almost like I was taking advantage of that, knowing that she's going to read this because I'm giving it to her. And in the middle of that, it causes resistance. How bad were you resisting me? How much did you hate that, babe?
I mean, it just kind of felt like you didn't know me. Like, you didn't see me.
Yeah.
Like, it sort of felt like, okay, so you're doing all of this changing. You're making the decision that our life is going to be different. I didn't make this decision. I mean, like, I was still working at the same space. I was still going about my day the same way. And so when you're abruptly changing and then expecting me to abruptly change too, I'm like, wait, you can't tell me that I need to be doing these things when I'm not sure that I should. And then, like she said, I am a very giving person. That's just who I am. So it's hard for me to even tell her no sometimes about like I have a hard time forcing medicine on her because I don't want to make her unhappy.
Real talk.
But the thing is, but because of that, it wasn't, I don't think she was intentionally taking advantage of my kindness, but it's just it was just an easy transition because I wasn't ever hardly resisting. I was just like silently resisting, which is a problem with on my end, because instead of out loud resisting the situation where I wasn't feeling comfortable, I was being very quiet about it, more reserved, but clearly unhappy with the situation, which is worse. Which is because I'm not talking about it, but I'm unhappy. There's a reason. Like, and I think we had to come around to the realization that we are two completely separate humans. And just because you're changing your life doesn't mean that mine has to change as well. Or doesn't mean that my entire mental has to change. Maybe some parts of it, but not everything. And there are parts about me that, like, sales is never going to be my thing. My wife has been,
I believe that she would be a
she's been
great
telling me
salesperson.
for years.
She doesn't want to do it.
I was just about to say that.
I was about to say that.
She always says that I would be. She always says that I'd be a great salesperson. But here's the thing: I don't want to be at all. So this is what happened. Like, she didn't realize that just because I'd be good at it doesn't mean that I want to do it. And that was where our breakdown was. I'm good at it and I will do it for you, but that doesn't mean I want to.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where our disconnect really happened.
So babe, so let's start talking about how we really came to the realization that, okay, something's got to change. We can't keep operating in the same space. Me trying to force this on you, and me thinking that by you not doing it is a way that you're not supporting me. Hold on, I got a comment here. But sometimes as a partner, you need that person to bounce your ideas off to get someone else. Here we go. So we're getting into this because I feel that my wife has skill sets. A lot of them. My wife, my wife is the smartest person I've ever come into contact. I'm not kidding you. Literally. I think she's the nicest person I've ever come into contact. And I think, I'm sorry. Okay, let me stop. I'll stop. She doesn't like that. Okay. So, she's not a look at me person. She doesn't like that. So, I lost my train of thought, babe.
No, but yes, she thinks that I'm very smart. And so because she thinks I'm smart, she was consistently under the impression that I could do a lot of different things and that I could really help her. Which is accurate, which was completely accurate. I was wrong in not feeling like I could. But because she was making the assumption that I am the way that I am or that I am smart, she consistently felt that I should be doing more than what I was doing to help her and to assist her and to aid her and to help. And because I didn't think that I had those capabilities, it more frustrated me than anything, because I'm like, wait, you don't know what I can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're telling me you want me to do these things that I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to do. So how does that
And it
make
was
any
more so I
sense?
wanted her to come be creative with me, because I don't consider myself a creative person. It takes me a little longer to get that creative juice flowing, if they call it. So, and I think in reading a lot of different books has helped me get more creative. I'm more creative now than I've ever been in my life. But my wife is creative, and so when I'm like, okay, help me come up with a clever, catchy name, or can you help me? How can I do this video, and how can I grab their attention? Because I think she's clever as shit like that. She doesn't think that she is, but I know that she is. And so when she would be like, I mean, I don't know. I'm like, I would get so upset. Yes, you do know. You do know. You just choose not to. Why don't you want to help? This is about us. This is about me, us, you and I going to the next level. Come on, get on board. And it was awful. It was awful. And so we really had to make the decision. I'm still trying to figure out, babe, when exactly was that turning point where we're like, okay, I discovered that I have severe anxiety. I think that this was starting to be a turning point, where I just started having a lot of panic attacks. I had never had it before. I was having panic attacks. I was losing weight left and right. And in the midst of this, we were not okay. Raven and I were not okay. And I believe that we do like to tell the truth. And I think, when we really figure it out, what was everything going on, we'll share that with you, because I think a lot of couples give up early. And we're young too. So I was having anxiety attacks, and our relationship was really, it just wasn't, there was a lot of stuff missing. There's a lot of feelings lost. It was like, do we even like each other at this point? So I had a really bad panic attack, and Raven said, okay, I know what to do. I have been researching articles, and she said, I was scared to tell you, but I think you may have anxiety. I keep fighting this wall. Every time I feel like I can help you, and at this point I feel like I'm fighting a wall. And so what she did was she went and she wrote on the board. Was the board or a piece of paper? You wrote down all of these things that I could do to help calm my anxiety down. And it was, you typed it for me, and she stuck it on the refrigerator, and she said, we're going to do this. And she's holding my shoulders like, we're going to do this every day. Anxiety is not, it's just a feeling. It's temporary. It will go away. Because I don't know if you have anxiety, but when you have an attack, you think that the world is over. Like, it's a spiral, like, shoom, shoom, shoom. I mean, it's crazy. And that was the turning point for us and for me, because I had been feeling like my wife wasn't really helping me. Wasn't helping me in any way. And it wasn't that she wasn't helping me. She was a little scared to come out into her greatness, as I think that we all are. And she didn't know how. She didn't know what to say or how to respond. Because some people, and I need to work on this for myself, walk delicately around me, because I flip. If I feel like I'm being offended, I feel like you're not understanding, I flip. And so she was walking that fine line on, can I tell her that she has anxiety? And so after that, it kicked in my brain, my wife wants me to succeed. She's helping me figure out something that she didn't have to, because a lot of people would just turn away, like, figure it out on your own. You got anxiety, deal with it, figure it out. Oh, you said today, figure it out. Just leave you. And so that was a turning point for me, where it was like, okay, she's doing, maybe she can assist. She cannot assist me in business. Okay. Maybe she can't. But if it's the little things to make my day better, like when she sees I'm having an attack, okay, tell me what's wrong. What do you feel right now? Maybe you could be a therapist, babe, because you really helped me. Because I'm a little scared to get vulnerable with other people about me. And my wife has the key to all of it. So for me, I felt that was, I can only speak for me, but babe, that felt like for me a turning point to understand that you definitely have my best interest, and you just didn't know exactly what to do. You're not a therapist. You're not a business person. You were doing what you could, your best you could with the tools that you had.
Yeah, I think that when to begin with, it was difficult for me to understand what was happening, because I've never seen anxiety close up the way that I was seeing it. And I never had been in a space with an entrepreneur, so I wasn't even sure what that looked like. And so here I was with a wife who was now an entrepreneur, and she was exhibiting signs of mental stress that I couldn't figure out.
I mean, there would be
how to
days I didn't
help.
want to be here.
It seemed like everything was wrong, and then
Days I
things.
didn't want to be here anymore. It was severe.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I think because I love her so much, there was a fear of her not being okay, and it stifled. I think it genuinely like paralyzed my thought process for it, because I just wasn't sure what to do, and I didn't want to hurt her further, and I didn't want to overly exaggerate her or anything like that. I just didn't. And so because I didn't, I shied away from it, and what that made it look like is that I wasn't being there. When in reality, I was just in my brain about how to help. And then I did some research. It was a few days before I actually talked to you about it. I think I did some research about anxiety, because I was talking to someone, and they were talking about how they had anxiety and how it hits them, and it sounded similar. So I did some research, and the second I did the research, I realized that if I would have just did that 3 months prior, I could have helped way sooner, because it really is just about somebody being there and having knowledge on how to help you move forward.
Right.
And I didn't realize that it was that easy, if that makes any sense. Like, I didn't realize that it was just about the fact that I just needed to sort of stand assertively in my help. And so
assertively.
I had to, and so I had to sort of take a step back to sort of understand that. And then once I did, and I think she sort of could understand that I was trying to help, and that I don't always have the answer, but I do like to help. And I think we still struggle with that every now and then, where it's hard for her to know that I am hearing her, and hard for me to push forward hard enough. You guys don't know me that well, but I am not uber confrontational. I sort of hate confrontation, really. I'm the opposite of confrontational, really. And so it's difficult for me to stand assertively against someone who doesn't shy from confrontation.
Not that I want it.
Taryn's the opposite, where not that she wants confrontation, but if it is brought to her, Taryn does not shy away from it. Taryn does not want confrontation, but if it does come to her, she's not afraid of it, whereas I am, and I have been my entire life. And so to stand assertively with someone who can stand for themselves and always has, it's a difficult thing for someone like me to comprehend and to understand. I think eventually I had to realize that if I didn't get stronger, and if I didn't push her harder to be better, or to feel better, or to understand what I'm saying, then we would never work.
Right.
Because she needed me to be strong in those moments when she couldn't be.
Yeah. And you have to recognize
and that was where I didn't.
As a spouse, I have to step back and recognize my wife to have another perspective. And as my wife, Raven has to step back and recognize, okay, how can I help? How can I help? We have to both step back and understand where our weaknesses are. We talked about this the other day. Like, do we believe that sometimes, as when you're in relationships, you use the person? Remember we had that conversation? And not on purpose use. You just know that person so well that you just know, I don't know, maybe I need to think about that even more. We had that conversation. But
no, it's like I think we use everybody that we come into contact with on a daily basis. You use people in your life constantly, and not on purpose. And no one does it on purpose, but you use people constantly. And so your spouse is the easiest person to use because of their skill sets, because of someone's skill sets and their way that they think, their personality, what they do for you, what they can do for you. It's the same thing. Like, you have certain friends that you can go to the club with, right? But then you have certain friends that you'd rather go to coffee with, because you get different things. You can, at the club, you got the person who could be your ring man, but then you got at the coffee house, you got somebody who can really have a conversation. It's like we all use each other for different situations, and your spouse is the easiest person to use because they're always in your space. And besides that, though, I think that as a spouse, you have to be prepared to be used and want to be used. And that sounds really crazy. And I am not saying overly used or taken advantage of. I'm saying used as in utilized. You have to be prepared to be
Sorry, baby. I don't mean
in a marriage.
Hold on, baby. I want to say this because I know some people are going to come out and be negative, like, use what? You don't do that to somebody. I want you to understand we're married, and there was a lot of things that we didn't know about marriage and that we would say, that's crazy, I ain't doing that ish, until we got married. So when we say these things, we're only talking about what we learned as we got into a marriage, you know? So that's what she's mean. We use each other, not in a bad way, but that's something we figured out about relationships.
Right. That's it. But that's what I'm saying. I don't think that it's necessarily using the person, it's utilizing the person. What do you marry someone for if you're not going to be able to utilize the things about them that help make your life easier? I'm sorry, but that's bullshit if you say that that's wrong. If you say that that's wrong, that's bullshit. Because it's not. It's not. You utilize that. You marry someone because of their characteristics, right?
Right.
Whether that means you're going to utilize them or they appeal to you, you marry someone for the sheer purpose of you like things about them. Mm-hmm. And like, for example, I can use Taryn if I need a dose of motivation, or if I need, okay, example, Ms. Me may know I lost my job a couple weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. And when I got fired, I knew calling anyone other than my supportive entrepreneur wife would have been the wrong move. Because I know that she first of all doesn't believe in 9-to-5s anyway. So she was just going to tell me, get another job. You okay? And you'll be fine. It's just a job. It's not your career. It's not your life. Figure it out. So I was already prepared that she was going to give me knowledge that wasn't going to be disrespectful. I also knew she knew me. And she's very supportive and very motivational. And she consistently tells me of how great I am. Right? So because I know that, I called her first. She was who I called, not my mom. I called my wife because that's who I can utilize to know that she was going to make me feel okay about what just happened mm-hmm. to me. You utilize your spouse. I don't care what anyone
Same thing
says.
When I was out in LA, and it's funny. My wife, she knows everything. Like I went by myself, and when I got there and landed in LA, the first person I called, because I couldn't find the damn Uber. There was nobody out there in LAX to guide me where the Uber was. I'm calling Raven. I said, babe, I'm out here. I can't even find the Uber. She's like, okay, hold on. She's always calm, cool, collected, right? Like, hold on. I'm going to call you back. So she hangs and she says, okay, babe. So where you got to go up the stairs. She's in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm in LA. Go upstairs, and there should be a sign next to Terminal 3 or something like that. And she guides me to the damn Uber. You see, I'm in LA. My wife is that dope. Or like, the first person I'm going to call is my wife anytime something goes wrong. If I'm like all up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, babe, let me tell you something. She's like, okay, so what happened? And I think that's something that she's learned about me, is if she stays calm, then I'll calm down. It was like yesterday, babe, he was like, I just had to let you talk about it. You know, you told me to go ahead and do whatever I needed to do, but I knew if I left, I would be leaving you. And so I wanted to stay, and I just figured, you'll talk about it, and I'll let you talk about it throughout the whole day, and you're good. You see?
That's the thing. But the thing is, I had to learn those things. Like that's the thing, is that although it's funny now that obviously I understand that being calm is the only way that's going to fix this. But I think that you learn those things. Taryn does get up in arms. I love her, but she gets frazzled and frenzied sometimes. And it's just like, okay, baby, relax. Let's figure out how to fix the problem. Mm-hmm. And then you know what I'm saying? And I think because I have the ability to be calm under pressure, we work well. Because she doesn't necessarily stay calm in serious situations.
I'm sure we're working.
And I'm probably too lax in some situations.
See,
for real, else. People always say, like, I always say she's too much and I'm too lax.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So you have to find that fine balance and really commit and understanding who you signed up to be in a relationship with. Something that drives me crazy. I think Raven is just not punctual, right? And she knows this. She's not. And it's okay. Like, I am a punctual person. When I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. Go. The other day we were going to the coffee shop, and I'm ready to go. Now, I have learned that when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go where I'm ready to go. I still kind of give her maybe 10 more minutes before I say something. But that's 10 minutes, I'm sitting there like, oh my gosh, she's so slow. She's so slow. And so I'm like, Raven, I'm taking the dog. I come back in. I said, Ray, I'm ready to go. Let's go. I'm going to leave you. And she's like, you ain't going to leave me. And she just brushed her hair real slow. But see, you have to understand, my wife isn't gonna be on time. If it's that serious, I will leave her if it's that serious. But I have to compromise on that. I come from a family who's not that on time.
And I think that that's the thing, is that you do have to understand those irritating things about your partner and decide if that's the things that you want to care about. When it comes to like entrepreneurship, Taryn is very on it all the time. She's like, let's go. We got to do things. Like this video, she's looking at me because I was brushing my hair. So consistently, she will always be like this, and I'm the opposite. Don't think that anything needs to be a rush. In my personal opinion,
like, maybe
my humble opinion.
If she could, she would just
disagree.
put her arms out and walk in the daisies and the dandelions if she could. But I love her.
But one thing, really quick, while she's throwing shade at me. But the thing is, what I also have to understand is that, like, sometimes she'll snip at me about this. Like, if I'm late or I'm causing a problem or I'm taking too long or whatever, she'll snip at me about something, especially if it's business related. If I'm slowing down a business related issue, boy, let me tell you. Okay. So, but I have to look at her face. But I have to understand that it's not personal. It's that she's not mad at me. It's just that I am slowing something down. Dandelions. Yes, I love dandelions.
C9
But but you have to understand, I have to get it. Like, as an entrepreneur, she has things she has to do. And if I slow it down, all that it is creating that thought process for her that I don't care what she's got going on. As a spouse, you have to understand that you and your feelings and your person are not always going to be the priority. You hear that? You hear that? I'm going to say it again for those in the back. You cannot always expect that you will be your spouse's priority. I know that sounds outlandish. You should be a priority, but not the priority all the time. Priorities change. As we go through life, the priority changes. Right now, currently, my priority is the fact that my house is dirty. Okay? I need to clean the house. And so today, right now, that is my priority. Whereas later on tonight, where because Terrence actually, they quilled up, but she doesn't actually feel that well. She's under the weather a little bit. But later on tonight, when she's finally toning down and she's going to sleep,
up, Tony?
My focus and my priority will be her. My focus and my priority will be her, making sure she gets to sleep, making sure that she can sleep through her sickness and making sure she's not stuffy. She will become the priority for the moment, but our priorities change constantly. We as humans, when I go to work, is my priority my wife? Not really. I mean, does it suck? Does that sound okay? No. But is it the truth? Yes. The same way as people's kids can become their priority. It's a way of life. It's just how we are. Now, if I was expecting to be her priority, I would set myself up to be disappointed constantly. If I expected that she wasn't going to pick her phone up to read a Facebook message because it's necessary, I would be upset. If I felt that her being on the phone was ignoring me like I used to, that would become a problem. When she originally got to be an online marketer, I wasn't getting that her business is on her phone. It's not that she's ignoring me. It's not that she can't focus or that she's texting while I'm speaking. It's that she legitimately cannot work if her phone is not in her hand. And so because I didn't get that, it felt to me like it would feel to anyone. You scrolling on Facebook while I'm talking to you? You know what I'm saying? But in reality, she's scrolling on Facebook to find this one post so that she can copy it so that she can make it her ad in the next group she posted. You get what I'm saying? There's a difference. Like, you have to understand your partner. I know that if I'm really serious and I really have something to say, I can say, Taryn, put your phone down. I'm speaking. And she will make me the priority, if even for a second. right? But you have to know. People always ask why you're texting. Exactly. It's frustrating. Like, exactly. I'm working. And that's the thing I had to get, because at a constant rate, as a spouse of an entrepreneur, you have to understand, no matter how much, like, I am very hard to get in touch with. You can ask any member of my family. They will say that I am extremely difficult to get in touch with. I don't answer the phone. I rarely text back. Messenger gets ignored. I am just not the kind of person that you can get in touch with. I'll come back when I'm ready. Leave me a message. And so because of that, I don't get the thought process of having my phone in my hand all the time. She does, though, and it's just her work. So as an entrepreneur's wife, I had to decide whether or not that was important enough for me to take personally. Is that important enough for me to take personally? Is it worth the loss of our peace? I think the other day, me and Taryn had a scuffle in the morning or something. And we both were just looking at each other after the scuffle had sort of ended. It wasn't bad or anything. It was just like a little, I think we just got frustrated with each other or something. And I grabbed her and I said, it's just not worth our peace. Yeah. Which is accurate. Decide. Is it worth your peace? Is it worth the peace in your marriage and your relationship? Is her...
Baby, you froze.
Oh, no.
You froze, baby. There you go. Okay, you're coming back. All right.
My back?
Yep, you're back.
Okay. But what I was saying was, like, because I had to understand that, like, her on her phone, when I was causing such a problem in our relationship, because I couldn't get it, that her being on her phone wasn't disrespectful. I mean, it was a serious problem. I had to understand that it's not worth my peace for her to answer my question a couple minutes later. It's just not. Like, it's not worth my marriage and I love Taryn, and I want nothing to happen to our marriage, but if I continue to take it personally that she wasn't answering me,
right?
Like, I was going to consistently think that was a problem. You have to understand what your spouse is doing. Another thing that I actually picked up that I think helped. Sorry, babe. One thing that I picked up that actually really helps, and here's a tip: if you are dating an entrepreneur, read on the topic that they are working on. And I'm not saying read heavily, okay? I am not saying you need to become an expert, because I am in no way, shape, or an expert on anything Taryn does.
Oh, you see, I'll be talking and you be like, okay,
okay?
yeah. I'm like, I don't know what the hell
I'm like, okay, baby. She be this algorithm that, and this Facebook group this, and you gonna have to look at the low hanging fruit.
Not listening to
but
me.
the thing is, I listen. I don't always understand.
You froze, baby. 1 second, guys. Sorry about this. She should come back in a second. Ooh. There you go. You're back. Yep.
Am I back? Okay. So what I started to do was I would read an article or two on whatever topic it was that she's working on at the time. And I do that still to this day. But every day I make a choice to read an article or two. I go on Reddit, Google it, whatever it is. Commercial break. So so what you should do is, if your spouse is talking, look at Rocky. If your spouse is talking about something specific, think that through and then figure out what they're saying. Like, Taryn discussed ClickFunnels for a while, okay, when she was reading about Russell Brunson. And so she talked about ClickFunnels for probably a week and a half straight, okay, like straight, which is fine, but I had no clue what a ClickFunnel was, okay? And so I took that, I Googled it next time I was by myself, and then I did a little bit of research just so that I would have a little basis of knowledge. The more you know about what your spouse is doing, the less it will feel like you're working for free in your brain. The less it will feel like the person's not doing anything, or they're at home and that you're at work and you're getting pissed and it's a tough time. It's a wave. The entrepreneur is a wave. It's a wave of like this. It goes like this, whether that's income driven, whether that's how successful something, if something's working or not. It's such a wave. And so if you're not willing to ride that wave of the up and down, you should quit right now. The longer you hold on to the fact that if she doesn't become successful in a month, then I can't do this anymore. the longer you hurt on to how hard is it right now? I can't sit through this. The longer you decide that and you don't make the decision that it is a wave and a journey, and it may take a year, it might take 6. But either way, you have to support the situation as long as it's not completely crippling your family. You have to understand that you have to be down. And if you aren't, you need to leave. It's a decision you have to make. And I know it sucks, and I'm sorry if it sounds harsh, but as a spouse, you have to decide. There's two choices you can make. A, you can decide to follow them wherever they're going, which is the choice I made. Or B, you can decide to leave and let them find that pathway on their self. It's not fair to them to pretend to be in a relationship and hold them back the entire time. It's not fair. And it's also not fair to you to pretend to be happy in a relationship that's consistently making you do things you don't want to do. You don't have to do any of the things I'm saying.
Right.
If you don't want to be an aid to your entrepreneur spouse, don't. But leave. But don't allow them to stay in a marriage with you if you don't have the intention on being down through the pathway.
Right.
It's a journey. It's a journey and it's a drive. You gotta be there. I don't get it. I don't have the courage or the push to do it for myself, but I can respect it enough to understand that I gotta be down for it. You know what I mean?
So baby, for the person, for the spouse who for the spouse who is in a situation, and maybe, you know, maybe they're like they're in the beginning where you and I were, where the entrepreneur is kind of learning and trying to grow and trying to do things, and the spouse is kind of on the fence where, okay, do I stay, do I leave? You know, how does the spouse come to make a decision what they should do?
I think it's about, can you see the vision? Here's the thing. Every entrepreneur has a vision, no matter what. Every entrepreneur, everyone I've ever talked to, all the ones that I've heard Karen communicate with, all the ones that I've listened to or spoke with or whatever, they all have a vision. They all have an end goal. Taryn doesn't necessarily even know her true end goal, but she knows she wants to be successful, right? She knows a good idea. She has a really good plan, but as far as exactly what it'll look like, but I have a knowledge of what we will look like in the future. I can see the vision of where this is supposed to lead, right? So if you can't see it, if you don't believe in your spouse enough to see it, and that's okay. It doesn't reflect on you that you don't believe in them enough. They might not have given you the reason to. Taryn gives me the reason to believe in her. She pushes, she fights. I see the passion, I see the inspiration. I watch the work that she puts into it. And so because of that, she's given me more than enough reason to trust her. More than enough reason to believe in her. Now, if your spouse doesn't do that though, and you don't feel that you can believe in this journey, then that's the decision. You just made it.
You
can't see the vision too, there's no reason to continue.
Right. Here's an example. When I was in an opportunity last year, and there was somebody on the fence. It was a couple, and a person, the spouse wanted her spouse to go ahead and do it, but she had a fear that maybe it wouldn't work out too well because she knew who she was with. And so I said, okay, well, you know what? This sounds like Raven. We had the same situation. How about you talk to my wife? Because she's the one who could you're in the same boat. She can explain it better than I ever could. So my wife has maybe an hour and a half conversation with this person. It was a really long time. And Raven had a conversation like, you know, you have to, if you don't trust that he is going to go out there and hustle and get it, then no, he doesn't need to not work. She said, I can allow Taryn to sit back and not get a 9-to-5 because I know that when I'm at work, she's working. I see the comments that are coming in. I see the YouTube popping. I know that she is working. So I have trust and faith in her. But if you have a spouse and you know your spouse, because you know your spouse, I'm telling you, you do. So if you don't believe that your spouse has it in them, don't allow them to just fuck it up just because they want to do something. You do need to have the conversation and say, okay, so what is the plan? If this is what you want to do, how are we going to get there? And they may not have a concrete plan in stone. Like Raven said, sometimes I've learned this, that I can have a goal and end goal, and I do have the end goal, sales, speaking. That's the end goal. What I had to give up was how I was going to get there. I had to be flexible on the journey because things change so much. Well, one time I thought it was going to be, oh, I was going to be doing sales for this person, or I was going to be doing sales here, and this was the business, and this is the opportunity, and now it's uphill, boom, now we're doing it. We just talked about this last night. And I said, what I had to give up on, what I had to stop harping on was that this is the concrete way I'm going to get there. You have to be extremely flexible on the journey and how you get there. And spouses of your entrepreneurs, it is a journey. So you also have to be flexible on the journey. I mean, flexible, I mean, limber, like that type of, that type of limber. You got to be ready. You got to be ready. You got to be ready.
That's true. You do got to be flexible. And like I said, I mean, you can have that conversation. You got to realize entrepreneurship, especially like a committed entrepreneurship, like Taryn, where like she has like, I mean, like she quit her job and like she's committed. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. Like when someone's deciding to do that, that is on a whole other level. Did you hurt yourself?
Rocky.
She probably did. She never stretches.
No, I didn't hurt myself.
She never stretches.
I was looking at Rocky. Don't you do it, girl. Don't you do it. I need to exercise and stretch more. She's trying to get on me.
She does. But what I was saying is, like, I think that, like, I mean, you disrupt your whole life. Mm-hmm. I mean, you legitimately disrupt your whole life. Mm-hmm. Financially, emotionally, with friends, with family, with everyone. If you got kids, with your kids, you disrupt your entire life. So if you don't trust your spouse enough to get this shit handled, you need to have that real and honest conversation. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, so you plan on disrupting our entire life, and I can't even trust you to take the trash out. No. Like that's the conversation. And for real though, because entrepreneurs, and Taryn will say this too, sometimes they get so wire-brained that they don't think through the steps that it takes to get to the end of the journey. And so, or they do, but they're just like, let me commit and we'll figure it out later. Right. And it's like, okay, that's cool. But if you're committed and you don't even know how to set up your email or subscribe from an email list, you probably unsubscribe from an email list. You probably shouldn't be talking about joining an online business. You know what I'm saying? And quitting your job to do so. Right. That's the conversation you got to have. You got to know your spouse. Now, my wife can unsubscribe from an email chain, so I allowed it. You know what I'm saying? But but the thing is, I knew my wife and I know Taryn, and I know that Taryn is going to be somewhere at some point. I know her, and I know her well enough to understand. And I'm sorry, but the same way y'all always talk about y'all get inspired and shit by her, she lives with me. Can y'all only imagine? So I know the passion and I know the inspiration and I know the work, and so I trust her enough to do it. But as a spouse, you got to understand, you can't always trust them. You can't always trust them. Like the same way Taryn can't trust that I'll always be on time. It's the same thing. You got to know. Just like I can't trust that Taryn is not going to yell at me for not being on time. Because you never know. Okay. So for the entrepreneur who's maybe in my situation, who's like, man, you know, I want to do this and I want my spouse to be on board. So here's some suggestions. You're not going to be able to get your spouse on board. Your spouse is not going to want to do the thing that you do. My wife has no desire whatsoever to do sales. My wife has no desire whatsoever to do marketing, entrepreneurship, none. I mean, none. What she does have the desire to do is to support me in any way, shape, or form that she can. So what I had to give up on, I had to give up on that thought, trying to change her, trying to give her this book and read this and do this training. Here, sit with me. Because that's not her. So you have to make a decision, entrepreneur. The person that you're with, know their abilities, know who they are. Did they sign up for this? Okay. Or is this something that you're forcing upon them? And if so, stop. You either make the decision that, okay, I'm going on this journey and the person that I'm with right now isn't cut up for it, isn't ready for it, then you need to leave. Like Raven was saying, you need to make the decision and know your spouse, and don't hold your spouse, don't hold your entrepreneur back from going where they want to go. You need to leave. Entrepreneur, you need to leave. If you know this person is not going to get you, aid you, help you, doesn't get it, you need to leave. Leave. Same goes with family, friends. If you have people who are negative, there are friends I won't talk to. I'm calling them friends. They ain't friends no more.
Family members that I know, you got family members who you can't talk about dreams to. You can't. You can't say anything because it's so negative. You need to remove yourself from it. Choose to ignore it. I know some people say, well, you can't just ditch family. Listen, I don't care who you are. I'm going to ditch you in a minute because my wife is more important and where I need to get to, my mental is more important. So if you don't have the courage, some people say, I'm going to deal with my family just because, then you need to ignore the noise. You need to ignore it. The spouse, make the decision. They are not you. You're either going to leave them. You can still love them. Y'all can still be friends. But don't try to change them because you're only going to resent them if you do that shit. You're only going to resent them through the journey. They're going to resent you because they're not ready. And you know it, entrepreneur. You know it. You know it. So have the conversation. All right. For the entrepreneur who has the spouse who doesn't get it, who's not on the fence, but just doesn't get it whatsoever. And they're badgering you about it and just not supporting you in any way, shape, or form. You also need to reevaluate that situation because you're going forward. Don't go backwards. Don't go backwards. You started a journey, and what most people will do is retreat because they start getting information from the people around them, whether that's a spouse, mom, mommy, daddy, friend, up the street, neighbor, whatever, job, boss. Let it go. You don't need to listen to that crap. You need no one in your life that wishes harm on you or wishes you bad. You need everybody that's going to support you, from spouse to family to friends to the boss. You need people behind you in your corner because you cannot do it alone. I like to think I can. How great would that be? How cool would that be? Especially when I'm a type of person who is not really trusting of people. If I have a question, I will Google from sun up to sundown before I reach out to anybody. We are who we are based on the situations that have happened to us in past. In school, it makes me think of school. Every time I ask someone a question, it makes me feel like I'm in school. And in school, I was a CD student. I didn't consider myself smart. And every time I would ask a question, the teacher would embarrass me in some way, shape, or form, I would feel like. So me asking questions today is just like, nah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. But see, with your circle, I'll ask Raven anything. I'm very ignorant to politics. I choose not to listen to it. I get my news from Raven. I choose to be ignorant towards politics. I do. Don't choose to be ignorant towards knowing that your spouse doesn't care about this shit. And don't be ignorant thinking that, I'm going to get there with them. If you're not, cut out the bullshit, okay?
Oh, but don't think that you have to care about what they do. Don't think that you have to like it. You just have to support it. There is a fine line. You don't have to like it. Mm-hmm. You don't have to get it. It doesn't have to make sense to you. You don't have to think that it sounds good.
Same thing with being gay. You
have to support it.
Same thing with being gay. I don't care.
You just have to support it.
You can hate it, not like it. Friends and family, of course, being lesbian, you have your family, you have your friends that say something to you about it. You don't gotta like it. I don't care. You don't have to like it. You just need to support it. And if you are my family, you do need to support it. Bye, Knifey. Thank you so much. Take care. I think we have to go too, babe. What time is it? We got to roll out, huh?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Baby has an interview, so we have to get going. This was great. Share this out if you feel that this was helpful. All right. We thank each and every one of you for being on this live. I woke up like I got to think of a live topic, and I think that this would be a great topic because there are a lot of people. I get it all the time. T, how do you and Raven work well together? Well, it wasn't always like that. You have to make the conscious choices. And a lot of people are afraid to make the choices that they know they should be making and take inventory of themselves and take inventory as a couple together. You know, you gotta have the hard conversations. You gotta get honest, like Iyanla say. What do you want? You gotta ask for what you want. So, all right, baby. Thank you for joining my live. You're awesome. You added some great value.
Cool.
All right. Cool. All right, baby. All right, guys. See ya, Coach T. Have a beast day. Peace.